Hey everybody, this is Jeff from Intergalactic Toys, bringing you another Customize Your Hot Wheels segment. Last episode we did a wheel swap, and today's episode we're going to show you how to do apply decals to your cars. Okay, actually the decals can be applied to anything die-cast. Today we're going to actually do a Hot Wheels Porsche 934. This is the car right here. We already did a wheel swap. If you want to know how to do a wheel swap, refer to our last video. Then you'll be caught up to date and you'll be able to do some decals, okay? So we're going to take this Porsche. We've got some Gulf decals here, okay? And we're going to go ahead and apply these to this car. We're going to show you how to do that. These are some clear background, decals, which are for light colored cars to, like, say, medium colored cars. We're not able to do the dark colored cars unless you have the white background decals. We'll talk about that in a little bit while we're at my work desk. Apply decals on this car, okay? Okay, here we are at my work desk. So we're going to go ahead and show you a few things you're going to need tool-wise to go ahead and apply your decals to your car. So we have a towel. We're going to be working with water, so you definitely want to have a towel as well as a paper towel, okay? And we're going to show you why the paper towel in addition to the regular towel when we start applying decals. Just a small plastic container for water. Something like Q-tips work really well. We might not need all these tools, but we're going to have them ready just in case. For me, got to have a brush. That's mandatory, okay? So that's an absolutely must-have. And then we've got some tweezers here in case we need them. Again, we might not use these, but if we do need them, we'll have them there. Your car, your decals. Now, I already pre-cut the decals, so we don't have to, lose time there. The scissors, of course, are just to cut your decals, so any good scissors, just wanted to show you those. And that's pretty much it. And, we have, instead of working on a table, working on this black cloth. That'll help you to see better for this tutorial as well. And that's it, actually. That's all we're going to need. You're going to see. Now, some people use some type of decal set. And if you have these tempos, like let me show you this, the Porsche again that we did. And you look at that tempo that covers the whole side of the car to the back and the fin. That basically, you're going to want to use some type of decal set. I'll put it down there for you, one that you can use. And the reason for that is because you want to be able to move the decal around and set it just right. But with what we're working with, all we're going to have to do is use water. That's it. So it's great because water is free, doesn't cost us anything. And most of the stuff you probably have lying around the house anyway. So really isn't going to cost much. You can spend the money on your car and on your decals. Okay, so next up, we're going to go ahead and start putting the decals on. Okay, so we're ready to start our decals. Just wanted to go ahead and show you, I like to take those decals and put them on the car so you can see the car now with a couple of decals on it. Gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. I cut the decals as close as possible so you don't have a big border. Also, it allows you a better view of what the car is going to look like as well. Now, we do have some other decals here for the doors that we're going to do. And basically, this car is going to come out like this Gulf Lamborghini, as you can see it. Okay, so that's how that came out. And we're going to do the same thing with the door. Okay, the racing stripes look really cool too. To cut the right length for the hood and the roof would take a little bit longer. For the sake of this tutorial, we decided we're just going to do an easy job and put on these round logos and numbers. Now, that's the Gulf Blue. This is going to be Gulf White, we'll call it. And then, as you can see, there's other cars as well I've done. So silver, you can still see the decals on this silver Acura. It looks pretty cool. There's no wheel swap on that. And then this one, as you can see, white. You can see that the decals turn out really nicely on white, okay? And so that's what we picked, that color. This Porsche, this purple Porsche, I didn't do it because it's too dark, and the decals, the clear background decals that you can buy will just get lost in this color, and you won't see anything. Black might show up a little bit, like if it was black flames or something. But otherwise, you're going to need a white background decal, which you're going to have to really cut closely, perfectly, as we talked about before, as well as the interior space of the decal. Or you'll have some white showing, and then that might be okay too, depending on your project. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this decal and we're going to dip it here. So let's put that back, and I'm going to dip this right here into the water, okay, and then get the water off. I'm sorry, actually let's dip it back in there. Getting ahead of myself. Dip it for about 10 seconds, okay, and then we'll bring it back out, and then we'll go ahead and lay it on the towel, and it's going to take 15-20 seconds before it starts moving, depending on the decal. I bought some other decals from somebody who actually 2 or 3 seconds, and they already started separating. It was that quick. So the one thing we're going to do on the car to prep it is we're going to get our brush, we're going to dip that in water, and we're going to put water on the hood. Okay, we're just going to, it doesn't matter, it's not going to hurt it. And that's going to allow us to move this decal when we put it on to position it. Okay, it's going to give us quite a bit of time before it dries. And that's what the decal set is for, which we're not using because we don't need it today. The water will be fine and it'll dry. We're just going to have to make sure it's a bigger decal, so we're going to make sure that all the water bubbles are out. No matter what size the decal is, you're going to want to press the water out, which I'll show you in a little bit. And sometimes people use these paper cloth towels to do that. Okay, so in a few seconds, we'll go ahead and start separating that and placing it on the car. Okay, this decal is now ready to go. Just took a few seconds. We're going to go ahead and, again, wet the top of the car just in case. And now, as you're going to see, we'll dip our fingers. I try not to use them dry. If you use dry fingers, a lot of times you might tear the decal or ruin the, if it's got any lettering, you might ruin it. So as you can see, it's separating. And so we're going to go ahead and put it where it goes on this car, on the roof. And we're just going to go ahead and slide it off. Okay, so we're just sliding it off. I know it's hard to see, sorry guys. Okay, so all we did is we slid it off the paper. And now we're going to be able to move it around. Okay, so there it is on the car. It's a little bit off, so we're going to go ahead and put it where we need it to be. Okay, make sure it's exactly how we want it to be. And that's pretty good right there, as you can see. So now, that's as easy as it is. I mean, there isn't much to it. And you can wet it a little bit. And that, as you can see with the brush, I like to use the brush because you can see you can kind of move it around if you wanted to. If you wanted to move it more toward the back or the front, wherever you want it, okay? Or you can use your finger, and like I said, I always dip my finger. That's why I have the towel to dry it off, and then I move it back to where it goes. We're going to let that start drying. I don't see any water bubbles in it, so that looks good right there. And then our next decal is this number 40, rather large 40. Again, dip it in the water for about 10 seconds or so. And then we'll go ahead and take it out, put it on the cloth, and let it dry for 15-20 seconds. These decals, I realized it was 15 to 20 seconds. Again, you can test them out. Every decal is different depending on what paper stock the person used. And then you'll know how quickly they'll separate, okay? But for now, so we're going to leave that like that. If you're going to press it down, take your cloth, dip it in the water, okay? Don't do it dry. It'll be like adding a dry finger, and you'll probably remove your decal, tear your decal, or smudge it. We don't want to do that. And you see it's going to be drying there. And if we have to, we could pat it down into place, okay, if we need to, and get any air bubbles out. And the same effect is that you can do with the towel is also this. You'd want to wet it, the little Q-tip, and you want to roll it and get any air bubbles out. There's not any air bubbles in here, so we don't have to worry about that. But if there was, especially with the larger decals, you'll want to go ahead and rub them out. Okay, so in a few seconds, we'll go ahead and put on this number 40 on the hood. But we're going to wet that hood before we put it on. Okay. Okay, so we're ready now. We're going to wet this hood. We already wet it a little bit. I'm going to wet it again just with the brush. Okay, just wet that hood. And now we're ready to get this number 40 decal. It's already sliding off, as you can see. And we're going to go ahead and again, and this is where you can use tweezers, guys. If you want to, you can take a pair of tweezers to hold, especially if it's a really small decal, okay? And now it's holding the paper, if you can see that, it's holding the paper. And now we could slide the number 40 decal onto the hood, okay? And so I just wanted to show you that. I didn't need them. I could do it with my finger, but for the smaller decals, I do use those. And now, as you can see, there's the number 40. Sorry, my finger's in the way. There's the number 40. We need to move it around maybe a little bit. It's like we're gonna paint over it. It actually, wow, it actually looks pretty good. It's maybe just a little bit off from where I want it. There we go. You just use the finger, and again, I dip my fingers. I always use them wet. I always work wet. Don't work dry. Otherwise, like I said, you're going to have a torn decal. Or it gets smudged. I've had that before too, which is no fun. All right, so now we're looking at this and it looks pretty good. You can see, I think I see some air bubbles forming up here on this decal. Okay, so we're going to brush them. We're brushing them out here. I'm going to get these gone, these decals. It happens, okay? Didn't see it at first, and now we got air bubbles. So now, there we go. We brushed them out nice and flat. If this gets any air bubbles, we're going to do the same thing. But you can see, it's looking pretty good. It's like a race. We got a race car here, okay? A racing Porsche 934. So we're going to let that dry a little bit. And if we have to, we can pat it down, like I said, with a paper towel or a Q-tip or even the brush to work out any air bubbles. You can even use your finger. Just work with it wet and you can kind of press it down and get any air bubbles out. Okay, so we are going to do the door decals, but they're really the same as these. So since you've seen how these are done, I'm just going to go ahead and put them on and then show you the finished product. Okay, so really easy, doesn't take very long as you saw. Depending on how many decals, we're putting 6 decals on today. The more decals or the more complicated, some of the smaller decals, you know, we'll test your patience sometimes. But if you got large tempos, definitely check out that decal set. I'll put it in the description below, one that I recommend. And that way, if you have a large tempo, a large decal to put on your car, then, you know, you'll be able to put it on and not be frustrated, especially if you rip it. The other thing I forgot to mention, one last thing, when you do get decals, buy plenty of extras, especially if you're new at it, but even if you've been doing it for a while, buy a lot of decals, because if you do start ripping through some or smudging them, you're going to be short, and then you're going to be like, oh man, I need that decal, and you're going to have to buy another set if you can find it, you know, or make it. So that's just another tip. Okay, so that's the car, and we'll be right back to show you the final product. Okay, so we're back, and we're finished with our Porsche, Gulf White Porsche. So you can see we put the decals on there. Looks like I might have to adjust one a little bit real quick. They're still a little bit wet. They're drying. And then there's the other side that came out better. Okay, and you already saw the roof and the hood. So yeah, that's our decal, how to apply decal episode for today. I hope it helps you out. You know, definitely hit a like, subscribe. We're going to do more customizing Hot Wheels videos. Of course, the decals you can do, I use them on models, you know, plastic models. That's how I kind of learned before. But, you know, anything die-cast you can use them on. You know, like I said, just make sure you get the right ones and make sure you get plenty of extras for your project. Yeah, I mean, have fun with it. As you can see, this card, no one's going to know that it didn't come that way. This is the card right there. And that's the car. So it makes a big difference when you do the wheels and decals. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you next time.